Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen, Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, on this fabulous Friday for another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update. And this one, indeed, is going to be a jam-packed one. We are, at the time of recording, 15 hours away from the halvening. By the time you guys are watching this, around about 1 p.m. UK time, we will be around about 12 hours away from the halvening. So tomorrow, the new supply of Bitcoin that comes onto the market will be cut in half. And there's a great fundamental narrative that really supports our idea and the things that we're looking at technically in regards to us now being in a bull market. Certainly Bitcoin and the broader altcoin market is really still yet to see its time to shine. But that typically comes after the halvening. We are going to be talking about that to start the video off. As always, if you are new to this channel and finding yourself on my videos for the first time today, don't forget to check out that subscribe button because we drop an update just like this one around 1 p.m. UK time every single day to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest things happening within the crypto space, but also the broader markets. That's what we're going to be doing in this video. So we're going to be starting off by sort of taking a look at the halvening. Then we're going to be hearing from Jamie Dimon reiterating his stance in regards to Bitcoin. And even though I don't think that Bitcoin is a Ponzi, I think the real Ponzi is the US dollar and the other fiat systems. I think they are a fabrication. They're a story, essentially, that we've been told, and we play this kind of game, even though people don't view it as a game because, of course, money is so important in all our lives. You know, it's very important, and there is a direct link there with freedom. You know, if you have a certain level of finance, you can do more things, and so on and so forth. So we're going to be looking at a clip from Jamie Dimon. Then we're going to be talking about what's going on in regards to Israel, Iran. Now, I'm not going to be getting into it, but what I am going to be saying is I think whenever there's a pullback, people look for a reason why. And actually, in yesterday's video, we kind of broadly outlined why the markets are pulling back. And I think it has a lot more to do with the readjustment in regards to implied interest rates, the sort of surge, if you will, in oil. That's all factoring into the dollar, which is leaning on risk. But when you look at the stock market, when you look at Bitcoin, when you look at whatever it is, it all looks very healthy and a-okay. So I think that has a lot more to do with things than what's taking place with Israel and Iran. I also just want to say this, although I'm not doing myself any favors in regards to saying this whatsoever. Take what you hear from the Western media with a pinch of salt. Okay, we'll leave that comment there. Then what I want to do is dive over to the Bitcoin chart. But before we do that, perhaps I want to play you a clip of Brad Garlinghouse, who of course is Ripple's CEO. He was on, I think it was CNBC yesterday, talking about how he believes this industry is going to double by the end of the year. That's very much in line with what we're looking at in regards to total turn, where we think Bitcoin is going. That would give you around about that $5 trillion market cap, which we think is very plausible. And we've been very persistent despite this pullback in coming out and telling people not to panic, okay? And trying to put into perspective this pullback, showing you that actually this is what altcoins do in a bull market. They sell off by 30%, 35%. We looked at Ethereum and its journey from $88 all the way to 4.5K. This is part and parcel of the crypto space. And if you can't handle the heat, get out the kitchen. And it's hard to handle that heat, but that's why we try and be a persistent voice in what is a rough sea at times. So let's start the video off, and let's start things off, obviously, with taking a look at where we are in relation to the halvening. Halving, whatever the hell you want to call it. We are now 14 hours away, 15 hours essentially. By the time you're watching this, we'll be about 12 hours away from the halvening. This is where the supply of Bitcoin gets cut in half. This is really what's driven the markets. You can also say actually liquidity cycles. There's an overlay of the Bitcoin halvening and liquidity cycles and things like that, which is very interesting. But this is great news. The supply of Bitcoin is going to get cut in half. The new supply. We've got a real institutional demand for Bitcoin. There's this great fundamental narrative that is also very much accompanied with what we're looking at technically for Bitcoin. But we're going to come onto the charts in just a second. So this has got me very excited. If we look at something like the Brave New Liquid Coin Index, which is probably the longest dated chart that we have for Bitcoin, and we put it on a monthly time frame, you know, this is essentially the effect of the halving. The majority of the bull market, in my opinion, is absolutely still to come. What I want to do now before we get into everything else is dive over to a clip of Jamie Dimon reiterating his stance on Bitcoin. And I agree with one thing that he says, just not the others.
Crypto.
If you mean crypto like Bitcoin, I've always said it's a fraud.
No hope for it.
Well, if they think they're a currency, there's no hope for it. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a public, decentralized Ponzi.
So I do think there isn't much of a hope as Bitcoin as a currency. I don't think there's anybody that would argue you could practically use Bitcoin as a currency, even with the Lightning Network. However, what it has proven to be is a flight to safety, a way to mitigate the failing real Ponzi scheme, which is the fiat systems. And he's very cautious in just attacking Bitcoin and not the broader crypto space or blockchain. And you've got to remember, JP Morgan is really one of the banks that is propagating the system that you currently have in the United States. And ultimately, you know, he's going to have a dog in that fight and defending it. And again, the real Ponzi scheme really is the US dollar. There's no doubt about that, in my opinion. Let's now talk about what's currently taking place. So the cryptocurrency market saw a little bit of a drop yesterday. And it was really to do in regards to this news. Israel carry out limited strikes against Iran, sources say. Now, there has been sources from Iran that have actually said there was an explosion, but it might not have been Israel. Where do I start? I really don't want to get into, I'm not a geopolitical reporter. I don't know all the facts, so it's not really my place to say. What I can say is that you have to take the Western media and what's propagated with a pinch of salt. I think we're all in agreement with that, whether you sit on the left, whether you sit on the right, whether you sit in the middle, whatever you are, wherever you are, I think we can all agree that there's a degree of bending the truth, we'll just say, that happens when it comes to Western media. And the reason that I bring this up is because people are using this as a kind of reason, if you will, for why the markets have sold off. And it is a factor. There's no doubt about that. But is it the reason? Or is what we looked at in yesterday's daily market update, which I encourage everybody to go and watch, we really dove into things technically, in the sense that you see rates now being implied as higher for longer. That's seeing the dollar do quite well, which is moving with oil. The reason rates are implied higher for longer is on the back end of inflation, which is the whole reason the dollar went up and rates went up in the first place. That's leaning on risk. And Bitcoin is very correlated to risk. And we looked at the NASDAQ 3x leverage ETF from Wisdom Tree yesterday, and Bitcoin, and we overlaid them and show you how they very much move in sync. So I think that this is news. I think news is news. This is why we target and stick to the charts, because the charts paint a very clear picture. And just to kind of really reiterate that again before we move on to some comments from Brad Garlinghouse, who of course is the CEO. Is he CEO of Ripple? I think he might be CEO of Ripple. You know, this is very much still an uptrend for the crypto space. And let's go over to that. So we've shown you the kind of normality of the pullbacks that we saw in the prior bull market. And this one is very much intact. Now, remember, we do have still the potential for this forming a right shoulder that's going to see crypto go to $3.7 trillion. And this is the total to excluding Bitcoin. This is still very much an uptrend. And you have pullbacks within that trend. You know, if you look at Bitcoin, very much similar. This is an uptrend. And yet people are bearish, and they're prematurely bearish. It's because they're following the news and they're emotionally reacting to the markets rather than technically having an assessment of where they are. What I want to do now is actually dive over to a clip that I'm going to speed up of Brad Garlinghouse talking about this industry more broadly, talking about regulations, talking about his prediction in regards to where this space is going this year. And I actually largely agree with him. We will be doing a video on Ripple later on, or XRP. XRP for me is one of those cryptos that I'd rather get caught with than without, just in case it does that 2017 style move. Which I think there's a potentially structure to suggest it may, but it's not something that I'm overly in. So it's not a large part of my portfolio, less than 5% or round about 5%. I'm happy to take that bet on it. But also, you know, being coins that are going to do well or better, potentially not hoping for that spike that may or may not occur. So let's dive into this clip now of Brad Garlinghouse, and then we'll close the video up on some final thoughts.
First, assess where we are in this market, because crypto is up huge in just the last couple of weeks, right?
Well, it's been up. It came down a little bit this past weekend. But I think if you step back over the last 6 months, Bitcoin's up about 250%. I think you're going to continue to see tailwinds, partly because of the ETFs that have been approved, which you and I spoke about in Davos, but also the upcoming halving, which is imminent.
Yeah, it's a great point. The ETF introduction really broadened out the market in terms of potential users, I think, and people wanted to get in on it, so they bought an ETF to do so. But you recently predicted that the crypto market will double in size to $5 trillion by the end of 2024. That is a big prediction just by the end of this year.
Yeah, I don't even feel like it's that big a prediction when you step back. And, you know, like any market, this is driven by supply and demand. You have decreasing supply for a whole bunch of reasons, the halving Bitcoin being an important one. You have an increasing demand, the ETF being a key part of that. And I think it's also people realizing that crypto plays a role as an asset. It's a $2.5 trillion market. Maybe it's a little less than that now. But so it's basically just predicting it's going to double by the end of the year. And if anything, I think I probably underpredicted that.
So I was going to dive into his second comments there in regards to regulations. I'll probably do a video on Ripple and XRP later on today. Really what I want to do, guys, is just say have a fantastic Friday. I wish people the absolute best when it comes to the cryptocurrency space. And I really do believe, I agree with Brad, I think this space is going to double and then some. The total market cap, so we looked at total too, let's talk about the total. This is where we're at. And people are bearish, and it's so annoying. I'm so sick of the bears that, by the way, have been wrong for the past 2 years now at this point, since we got back into the market in 2023. And every time there's a blip, come back. And I just don't know. I don't understand it, guys. I really don't. And I do think there's an amazing opportunity here, and it's about understanding how to achieve that opportunity, or how to embrace the opportunity and not getting shaken out by likely the players that manipulate the market or that do certain things, and understand where you are from a technical perspective, not from a news-driven perspective. If you invest and your investment thesis and your emotions are driven by the news, and it's designed to be that way, by the way, you're going to have a lot harder time of this than somebody like myself, what we do here on this channel, what my Patreons do in regards to just sort of following along. And we're emotional as human beings, but you need to learn to deal with that, and you need to have a perspective on the market and really be able to harness it. But alt season is really yet to come. We're really yet to see Bitcoin dominance roll. That is really all I've got for you guys. So I want to know your thoughts in the comment section. Happy halvening for tomorrow. I will be making a daily market update, hopefully probably from home. And yeah, that's all from me. Have a fantastic Friday, guys. I'm going to love and leave you. See you all in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.